Hi everyone, and welcome back to our channel, or welcome to our channel if you're new here. So in today's video, we'll be showing you how to make this bread roll, or Salara as some people call it. It's a traditional West Indian pastry. We noticed that you guys really love these pastry videos, so we're going to try to bring out a lot more of these. Basically what this is a pastry dough rolled up with coconut mixture, and it's all topped off with a red food coloring. It's something that I've grown up eating, and it's honestly one of the best pastries out there in my opinion. So if you'd like to see how to make this, then please keep on watching. Alright, so as always, we're going to start off with the ingredients you'll need to get started. So we're going to start off with the dough's ingredients, which are 2.5 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of brown sugar, 2 tablespoons of butter, 1 tablespoon of shortening, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1 pack of yeast, 1/2 cup of milk, and 1/2 cup of water. And all of these ingredients, as well as the other ingredients we're going to be listing, will be in the description box below, as well as instructions on how high to have your oven and for how long. Now we're moving on to the coconut mixture. So you're going to need, of course, grated coconut. We have about a bowl's worth of grated coconut. It's all up to your discretion, because you can always have the extra filling to use for other pastries as well. So you'll also need 1/2 cup of sugar, 1 tablespoon of vanilla. You'll also need 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of ginger, and of course the red food coloring. So all of these ingredients will be listed in the description box, and you can add ingredients or decrease ingredients depending on how much you want to make. This makes about 2 large bread rolls. Alright, so we're going to start off with our dough. First off, we're going to be adding our yeast. We used about 1 pack of those Fleshman mini packs of yeast. And you're going to add 1 teaspoon of sugar. You're going to add 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And you're also going to be adding 1 tablespoon of shortening. And 2 tablespoons of butter. And then you're just going to mix this together with your hands or a clean spatula. We find that using our hands is a lot easier to mold the dough together. Alright, so you're going to start gradually adding in your 1/2 cup of milk, and this is warm milk. You're just going to be adding little splashes at a time and working it into the dough. And you'll start to see the dough begin to form into kind of clumps. And that's what you're looking for. And now we're just going to also add in gradually our 1/2 cup of warm water. And you can add more or add less water depending on how your dough is coming about. That's why we say using our hands is a lot easier, because you get to get into that dough and understand how it's being molded, and you can kind of gauge if you need more water or not. So when you're finished with your dough, it should look something like this. And we are going to seal this with saran wrap and leave for an hour for it to rise. And while that's rising, we're going to start working on our coconut mixture. So you're going to take your shredded coconut. You can always buy the pre-shredded, but this is actually hand shredded. And we're going to take our 1/2 cup of brown sugar. You can use regular sugar if you'd like. And we're just going to mix this together. Alright, now we're going to add in our 1 teaspoon of ginger. This is kind of our secret ingredient here, and when you try it, you'll understand why. We're also adding in 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg. And then 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. As well as 1 tablespoon of vanilla essence. And then of course you're going to mix all of this together. Alright, so now that that's all mixed together, you're going to start adding in your food coloring. And we recommend using red for this, but you can use any color that you'd like. We're moving very slowly with the food coloring because you don't want to use too much of it that you don't need. That's why we're using a couple drops at a time and mixing it together. As you can see, we switched out for a fork. We find it a lot easier than the spatula. So you're just going to keep mixing that and adding food coloring as you go until the coconut is completely the color that you're looking for. Alright, so we were looking for something like this where almost all of the pieces of the coconut are completely submerged in that red food coloring. So now you're actually going to cook this as well. So you're going to put this straight into a hot pan. Now we're not going to add any oils or anything like that because you do have the sugar on it. So you want that sugar to melt into the coconut. And that's the idea behind this. So you're going to let that completely cook. What you're going to do is you'll see that it starts to lose some water. This is the sugar caramelizing. So you want to make sure that this becomes very moist and very sticky. The reason we have this very sticky is because we want to make sure that when you're putting it into the dough, when it does start cooking, it doesn't completely fall apart. So this sticks onto the dough and makes it almost part of the dough. Alright, so you're looking for something like this where it's kind of sticky and very clumpy and almost very moist to the touch, and that's exactly what you're looking for to put into your dough. So now we're going to get some parchment paper and we're going to line our pan with that. We're just going to cut it to size. We're doing this so that it doesn't stick to the pan. Our dough should be ready, which you can see here, it's very nice and soft. So you're going to take that dough and some flour on a flat surface, and you're going to start kneading this and getting out all of those air bubbles. Now we quickly realized that this was a lot of dough for one red roll, so we decided to cut that in half and make 2 of them. So really you only need probably half of the size of a dough like this, because you're really going to stretch it out so that you can roll that mixture that we made earlier into it. So you're just going to knead that and roll that out. We're still trying to make sure that there are no air bubbles in there before we start rolling this flat. Alright, so now that our dough is completely cleared of air bubbles, we're going to flatten this out and use some flour to make sure that we can hold it without getting too sticky. And we're going to flatten this out into an oval shape. And the reason you're doing this is that when you'll see when we start to roll it, it needs that shape in order to take shape, if you understand what I mean. So you need to have it at an oval shape or like an oblong shape, where you can add all of that mixture in and completely roll it, and it comes out like a long piece of pastry. So that's why we're rolling this and stretching it out. You want to stretch out all of the ends as well. And you want to make it not too thin, but at least an inch of thickness. Alright, so before we put in the mixture that we made, we're going to spread some butter on the dough, and this is just going to add a nice richness to it, as well as helping everything stay together. Okay, so now we're going to add in our coconut filling, and you're not going to add in all of it because of course we've made so much that we can actually do 2. So you don't want to overfill the dough, because when you do roll this, you don't want any of the pieces of coconut to start spilling out, because it is very sticky and it's just going to look weird on the outside of the dough. So you're just going to take a spoon, or even with hands, you can just flatten this straight out, kind of like a pizza. Okay, so the way that we are going to roll our red roll is actually from the sides, instead of doing it from the ends. And the reason for this is that we tend to like the shape that comes out when you do it from the side over. And it's a lot easier to close as well, because it's not as elongated if you do it the other way. So you're just going to roll this gently, and you want to make sure that it's very tight, because you don't want anything to slip out. And then you're going to use a pinch and fold method. So you're just going to pinch the dough and fold the other piece underneath. That way that we can seal the dough and ensuring that none of that mixture that we made comes out. Alright, so now we're going to also do the ends. You're going to just pinch the ends and kind of fold them inwards. And that way it's kind of like rolling it because it holds everything together. And you want to make sure that that is very tightly put in because you don't want your dough unraveling apart. And if there's pieces here and there on the outside, just pinch the dough and put it around it. You're then going to take some more butter and you're just going to brush this on top of your 2 or 1 red roll. And you're going to bake this for about 30 to 45 minutes at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. You're going to check it periodically, especially when it becomes golden brown like this. So you want to take this out at about 30 minutes or when browning and glaze with butter and put into the oven for another 15 minutes just so that we can get a nice color on the top. So our red roll is complete. So now we're going to cut this, and you want to cut it almost on a slant, and this way it kind of looks like the authentic ones that you see in all the stores and that you see it back home. So you're gonna cut it on the slant and you'll see it's very easy to cut, and there's no spillage as well because we didn't overfill the dough with too much of that coconut mixture. Alright, so since we've cut a few slices, let's plate it and finish the video. So this is our red rolls completed, or Salara if you like to call it that. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. This is a dessert that we really love, and we hope you guys enjoy it and try it out, and let us know in the comments below if you do try it out. I just want to say thank you to all of the support lately on our videos. We really appreciate it, all of the old subscribers and new. Welcome and thank you so much for all of the support. We will try to get videos out as much as we can. Hope you guys have a fantastic week, and thanks for watching. Bye!